His lips were on mine before I could stop myself. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. We had promised each other to take things slow, to keep it casual, to not let our hearts betray our secrets. But when I felt his hand on the back of my neck, pulling me closer, my body betrayed me. The kiss was hungry, desperate, filled with something I had buried for years. My fingers dug into his shirt, pulling him even nearer, as if I could melt inside him and stay hidden forever. The room was dim, the curtains drawn, the hum of the city outside muffled by the silence between us. My breath hitched as he whispered against my ear. "Do you want this? Really want this?" I didn't answer with words. I pressed my lips harder against his, and for a moment, the world outside ceased to exist. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest, my skin burning with a forbidden fire. Every nerve in my body screamed both yes and no at the same time. That was the night everything began to unravel. But before I take you deeper into this confession, I need you to do something for me. If you're listening right now, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with someone who loves a good story, and subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let me take you back to how it all started. I can't tell you my real name. I can't even give you hints about who I am, where exactly I live, or what I do. All I can say is, I'm an ordinary man in America, someone you would pass on the street without looking twice. I have a job, friends, and neighbors who wave when I take out the trash. To the world, I'm no different than anyone else. But beneath that quiet surface lies a truth I've carried like a hidden scar. I had always known I was different. As a boy growing up in a conservative town, I learned early how dangerous it was to show what I felt. I dated girls, went to prom, played my role like a good son. But inside me was a longing I could never say out loud. A longing for someone who looked like me, walked like me, carried the weight of manhood the way I did. Years passed, and I buried that part of myself. I married once, briefly, but it didn't last. She said I was distant, that my heart was never really there. She was right. My heart was never hers to begin with. I thought I could go through life hiding, convincing myself it was enough. But then I met him. It happened on a late afternoon at a small bookstore cafe downtown. I wasn't looking for anything, not even company. I was sitting at a corner table, reading a novel I didn't care about, sipping coffee that had gone cold. And then he walked in. He wasn't what you'd call perfect. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled, but there was something magnetic about him. His laugh carried across the room when he greeted the barista. His smile had this careless charm that made you want to look twice. And then his eyes landed on me. I should have looked away. I should have buried my face back in the pages of that dull book. But I didn't. Our eyes held for a second too long, and he tilted his head, as if daring me to acknowledge what we both felt. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from me. I don't even remember saying yes. But suddenly he was there, his coffee steaming, his presence filling the space between us. We talked. About nothing at first. Books, the city, the weather. But beneath every word was a hidden language. A subtle dance neither of us admitted, but both of us understood. I felt like I had known him forever, even though I barely knew his name. His name. I won't tell you. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But what I can tell you is that from that day, my world shifted. The days turned into weeks, and our meetings became more frequent. At first, they were innocent, just coffee, just conversations. But there was always that tension in the air, like electricity before a storm. I found myself thinking about him at night, replaying his laugh in my head, remembering the way his eyes lingered on mine. And then came the first touch. It was raining. We had ducked into a narrow alley to escape the downpour, pressed close under a broken awning. My hand brushed against his, and instead of pulling away, he let it stay there. My heart raced so fast I thought I would faint. Then he turned, looked at me with a boldness that stripped me bare, and whispered, "Are you scared?" I was terrified, but I still said, "No." That's when he kissed me for the first time. It wasn't long, just a brief meeting of lips. But it lit a fire inside me I could never put out. The taste of rain, the warmth of his breath, the weight of his hand at the back of my head. It was enough to change me forever. From that moment, there was no turning back. I know what you're thinking. Why not stop? Why not run before it went too far? The truth is, I didn't want to stop. I had lived half a life in shadows, denying who I was. And suddenly, here was someone who saw me, wanted me, touched me in ways I never thought possible. He became my addiction, But addictions always come with a price. If only I had known how far we would fall. If only I had known that what started as a secret kiss would end with blood on my hands. That night, the one I opened this story with, was just the beginning. The beginning of passion, lies, obsession, and the tragedy that followed. And as I sit here now, writing this confession, I can still feel the weight of his kiss, the heat of his breath, the danger in his eyes. This was how it all started. And soon, you'll understand why I can never tell you my name. Desire has a way of burning silently before it explodes. That was what happened with us. After that first kiss in the rain, we told ourselves it was just a moment, nothing serious. We even laughed about it. But we both knew the truth. It was a door, and once it opened, there was no way to close it again. Every time we met, the distance between us grew shorter. A brush of fingers became a hand on the arm. A hand on the arm became a hand on the thigh. And soon, we didn't bother with excuses anymore. We wanted each other. We needed each other. Our secret meetings turned into a routine. Some days, we would sit in the back of that little bookstore cafe, pretending to read while our feet touched under the table. Other times, we would drive 2 towns away, find a cheap motel, and lock ourselves inside for hours. Those rooms became our universe, a place where we didn't have to hide. Inside those walls, I felt alive in a way I never had before. He knew how to look at me, how to touch me, how to make me forget the world outside. I told myself it was harmless, that no one was being hurt. But deep down, I knew I was lying. He wasn't just a man I met by accident. He became my obsession. I remember one night more clearly than the others. We had spent hours together in a small hotel room with faded curtains and the smell of stale smoke. We lay side by side on the bed, the sheets twisted around us, our bodies still trembling from what we had just shared. He lit a cigarette, even though I hated the smell, and blew the smoke toward the ceiling. You ever think about what would happen if people found out? He asked, his voice low. All the time, I whispered. And I'd lose everything. He turned to face me then, his eyes sharp. Then maybe it's better if nobody knows. Ever. There was a strange weight in his words, as if he wasn't just talking about us being discovered. It was the first time I noticed the darkness behind his smile. But in that moment, I didn't care. I reached for him again, needing his body against mine more than I feared his words. Weeks passed, and soon months. My whole life began to revolve around him. I found myself making excuses to leave work early, canceling plans with friends, lying to people who trusted me. At first, the lies made me nervous. But after a while, they became second nature. He filled my thoughts during the day and haunted my dreams at night. I would wake up sweating, craving his touch, his voice, his presence. And when I couldn't see him, I felt empty, restless, angry at the world. That's what obsession does. It eats you alive from the inside. But it wasn't just me. He was obsessed too. There were times he would call me late at night, his voice raw with need. Come over, he would say. And even if it was midnight, even if I was dead tired, I would go. He wanted me there, and I couldn't say no. Once, when I didn't answer his call right away, he showed up at my door. I lived miles away from him, yet he came, knocking until I let him in. He was angry, jealous, convinced I was with someone else. We argued, our voices sharp in the quiet night. But it ended the same way it always did, with hands pulling clothes, with lips pressing hard, with sweat and silence afterward. That was the dangerous part. The anger only made the passion stronger. It was like fire feeding fire, and I didn't know how to stop it. Halfway through this part of my story, let me pause for just a second. If you've been listening so far, make sure you hit that like button. Share this with someone who loves these kinds of confessions. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. There's so much more to come, and you won't want to miss it. Now let's get back to it. I started noticing changes in myself. I was distracted at work, missing deadlines, snapping at coworkers. My friends told me I looked tired all the time. My phone buzzed constantly with his messages. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? At first, I thought it was sweet, like he cared too much. But later, I realized it was more than that. He didn't just want me. He wanted all of me. If I didn't answer right away, he grew suspicious. If I spent a weekend with family, he accused me of hiding from him. If I talked to someone else on the phone, he wanted to know who it was. And yet, I couldn't walk away. I told myself it was love. That love was supposed to be messy and painful. That maybe this was the price I had to pay for finally being with someone who understood me. But looking back now, I see it for what it was, a trap. A trap I willingly stepped into. There was one evening that still plays in my mind like a film on repeat. We had gone to a diner off the highway, one of those places where no one knew us. He sat across from me in the booth, staring at me with that intense gaze of his. "Do you ever think about leaving all of this?" He asked suddenly. "What do you mean?" "Leaving the lies, the secrets. Being with me for real." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. The thought terrified me. If people knew, if my family knew, my life would be over. "I can't," I whispered. His jaw tightened. His hands clenched on the table. He didn't say anything for a long time, just stared at me with something dangerous in his eyes. That was the first night I truly felt afraid of him. And yet, I still met him the next day. And the day after that, because fear had already become part of the fire between us. Sometimes, late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I would lie there and think, what if this ends badly? What if one of us breaks? But the thought would vanish the moment I saw his name flash on my phone. I couldn't escape him. And deep down, I didn't want to. That's the madness of obsession. It convinces you that destruction is worth it, as long as you can have what you crave. Now, looking back, I know those were the signs. The signs that everything was heading for disaster. But at the time, I told myself we were just two people in love, fighting against the world. I was wrong. Love is one thing. Obsession is another. And what we had wasn't love anymore. It was a fire that was going to burn us both alive. That was the fire between us. A fire that grew brighter, hotter, more dangerous every single day. And by the time I realized it was out of control, it was already too late. I used to believe that passion could fix anything, that no matter how rough things got between us, the heat we shared would always bring us back together. But passion is a liar. It blinds you, tells you everything will be okay, even as the ground cracks beneath your feet. By the third month of our affair, things began to change. The sweetness of our first nights was gone. What remained was sharper, darker, and filled with something I couldn't control. It started small. He would check my phone when I wasn't looking. At first, I thought it was just curiosity. But then I realized he was reading my messages, scrolling through my call logs, questioning every name he didn't recognize. "Who's Alex?" he asked one night, his eyes cold. "A coworker," I answered quickly. "Male or female?" "Male." He stared at me for a long time, then handed the phone back. But the way his jaw tightened told me he didn't believe me. Soon, it wasn't just my phone. If I came home late, he wanted to know why. If I didn't answer his call within minutes, he accused me of ignoring him. Once, when I said I was busy at work, he showed up at my office building and waited in the parking lot until I came out. That scared me. But instead of pulling away, I pulled closer. Because his jealousy felt like proof of how much he wanted me. That was the trick he played on my mind, turning fear into something I mistook for love. Our arguments became more frequent. One night in a motel room, he grabbed my wrist too hard when I tried to leave. "You're not walking out on me," he snapped. "I'm not," I said, trying to stay calm. "I just need some air." "You need me," he hissed. "Don't ever forget that." His grip hurt, but I didn't fight him. Instead, I let him pull me back into the room. Minutes later, our lips crashed together, and the fight dissolved into the same cycle it always did. Anger, then passion, then silence. It was exhausting, but it was also addictive. The more toxic it became, the deeper I sank. My friends started asking questions. "You've been different lately," one of them said. "Distracted? Is something going on?" I lied. I told them work was stressful. I told them I was tired. But inside, I wanted to scream the truth. I wanted to tell someone about the fire I was trapped in. But I couldn't. I was too afraid of what they'd think. Too afraid of losing everything if my secret came out. So I kept quiet. And he kept pulling me deeper. Let me pause here for just a second. If you've been listening up to this point, you know how messy things are getting. Make sure you like this video. Share it with someone who loves stories like this. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The worst is yet to come, and you'll want to hear it all. Now, let's go back to the story. The breaking point came one night when we were in his apartment. He had been drinking, more than usual. His words slurred, his eyes wild. "You're going to leave me," he muttered, pacing back and forth. "No, I'm not," I said. "Yes, you are. I can feel it. You're already pulling away." I tried to calm him down, but he wasn't listening. He grabbed a glass from the counter and threw it against the wall. It shattered, and the sound echoed in my chest like a gunshot. "Don't ever leave me," he said, pointing a trembling finger at me. Because if you do, I swear, I'll make sure you regret it. There was something in his eyes that night, something dangerous, something that told me he meant every word. I should have walked out right then. I should have cut him off, blocked his number, disappeared from his life. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because even as fear twisted in my stomach, desire still burned in my veins. After that night, everything changed. He became more controlling, more paranoid. He called me at all hours, demanded to know where I was, who I was with. And when I pushed back, he reminded me of his threat. "Don't test me," he whispered one night. "You belong to me. If I can't have you, nobody will." Those words haunted me. I started having nightmares, dreams of him standing over me, of blood on my hands, of running but never escaping. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my chest tight with dread. But every time I saw him again, the nightmares melted away into the same hunger that had started this whole mess. It was like poison I couldn't stop drinking. One evening, I sat alone in my car after leaving his place. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I looked at myself in the mirror, my face pale, my eyes tired. And I thought, this is going to kill me. That was the first time I admitted the truth to myself. Something had to give. Either I would break away from him, or one of us wouldn't survive this. And deep down, I already knew which one of us it would be. That was the breaking point. The moment I realized our love wasn't love anymore. It was obsession. It was madness. And madness always ends the same way. I had always believed murder was something that happened to other people. Something you read in the newspaper, watched on the evening news, shook your head over, and then forgot about by dinner. I never thought I'd be the man standing there, blood on his hands, staring down at someone I once swore I couldn't live without. But obsession changes everything. Obsession twists love into chains. And chains always leave scars. The night it happened was colder than usual. The kind of night where the wind cuts your skin, and the air feels heavy with something unsaid. I remember driving to his apartment, my chest tight, my stomach rolling with dread. We had argued over the phone earlier. Again, he accused me of ignoring him. I told him I needed space. He laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that made my heart race. Space. He had sneered. "You think you can just walk away from me? You think I'll let you?" And then he hung up. I should have stayed away. I should have locked my door, turned off my phone, gone to bed and never looked back. But instead, like a fool, I drove to him. Because that's what obsession does. It calls you back to the fire, even when you know it's going to burn you alive. When I stepped inside his apartment, the tension was thick enough to choke me. He was sitting on the couch, a drink in his hand, his eyes dark and glassy. "You came," he said, his voice flat. "You called," I answered. He smirked. "Of course you came. You always come." I tried to keep calm, but my nerves were frayed. "We need to talk," I said. "Talk?" He laughed harshly. "We don't talk. We fight. We kiss. We fuck. And then we fight again. That's all we do. That's all you let us do." I clenched my fists. "This isn't healthy. We can't keep doing this." His eyes snapped to mine, burning with fury. "Don't you dare say that to me. You belong to me. Do you hear me? You're mine." The argument exploded from there. Words flew like knives, accusations, insults, threats. He said I was a coward, a liar, that I would never find anyone who wanted me like he did. I shouted back that he was suffocating me, that his jealousy was destroying us both. But then he said the words that sealed his fate. "If you ever leave me, I'll make sure everyone knows what you are. I'll ruin you." Something inside me broke. All the fear, the shame, the secrecy, the sleepless nights, it all rushed up like a wave crashing over my head. My vision blurred, my chest pounded, and for a moment, I wasn't thinking at all. I just reacted. The lamp was on the table beside me. Heavy, metal, with a sharp edge. My hand moved before my mind caught up. I grabbed it, raised it high, and brought it down. The sound it made when it hit his skull was something I'll never forget. A sickening crack, followed by a soft gasp from his lips. His eyes went wide, shocked, betrayed. I froze, the lamp still in my hands, my chest heaving. He reached for me weakly, his fingers trembling, his mouth opening as if to say my name, but no sound came out. And then, slowly, he collapsed onto the floor. Silence. That was the first thing I noticed. The silence after the storm. My ears rang, my body shaking. I dropped the lamp, and it clattered against the floor with a hollow thud. I stared down at him, at the blood pooling beneath his head, spreading across the carpet. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could do was stand there, frozen, watching the man I once loved slip away. Minutes felt like hours. I paced the room, my hands in my hair, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. I wanted to scream, too. Run, to undo what I had just done. But it was too late. He wasn't moving. He wasn't coming back. I knelt beside him, my hands shaking as I touched his face. His skin was still warm. His lips were slightly parted, as if waiting for me to kiss them one last time. I almost did. But then I pulled away, horrified by myself. What have I done? I whispered. No answer came. Only silence. That was the moment I realized the truth. The fire between us had finally burned out, and all that was left was ash. I sat there for a long time, staring at his body, trying to convince myself it wasn't real, that any second he would open his eyes, sit up, and laugh at me the way he always did. But he didn't. The only sound was the clock ticking on the wall. Tick, tock, tick, tock, counting the seconds of my life that I could never get back. I don't remember leaving his apartment. I don't remember driving home. All I remember is the numbness that settled over me, the way my body felt hollow, like a shell. I washed my hands a dozen times, but the blood still felt there, clinging to my skin. I scrubbed my clothes, but I could still smell him, still feel his touch. When I finally collapsed into bed, I stared at the ceiling for hours, my eyes wide open, waiting for sleep that never came. And when dawn broke, I realized something chilling. I wasn't just a man in love anymore. I wasn't just a man with a secret. I was a murderer. That night changed everything, and it was only the beginning of my silence. My guilt, my endless need to stay anonymous. Because once you take a life, you never get it back. And once you cross that line, you never stop seeing their face. Even now, when I close my eyes, I still see him. His smile, his laugh, his last look of betrayal. It never leaves me. I have replayed that night 1,000 times in my head, each time wondering if there was a moment when I could have stopped myself. Maybe when I first felt the anger boiling in my chest. Maybe when he laughed at me like I was just another fling. Maybe when I reached into the kitchen drawer. But now, none of it matters. The story has only one ending, and it is written in blood. The night started like all the others. His text came in around 9 p.m. Come over. I need you. My heart jumped at those words, the same way it always did. I left my house without a second thought, without caring who noticed, without even thinking about the danger. I drove through the empty streets, headlights carving through the dark. I felt alive, nervous, obsessed, like an addict going to get his fix. When I entered his place, he greeted me with that wicked smile that always undid me. His shirt was already half unbuttoned, and he pulled me close the way he always did. My lips burned against his, and for a moment, it was the same passion, the same madness that had kept me trapped in his orbit. But that night, something felt different. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was him. His words cut sharper than usual. Between kisses, he whispered things that stung. You're too needy. You act like we're married. Relax, I've got other people to see too. I froze. My body still wanted him, but my heart twisted. My world had been built around him. I sacrificed my nights, my peace, my very soul just to be his shadow. And now he was reminding me that I was nothing but a secret, an escape, a toy. I tried to laugh it off, to kiss him harder, but he pushed me back. Don't look at me like that, he said. It's not love. You know what this is. Those words, they were nails hammered into my chest. My obsession, my devotion, all of it suddenly felt foolish. I was invisible in his world, yet I had made him my entire world. I went to the kitchen, my mind racing. I wanted a glass of water, but my hands trembled too much to hold anything. Then my eyes fell on the drawer. I don't know what pulled me there. Rage, heartbreak, madness, maybe all of it. I opened it and saw the knife. The shiny blade reflected my broken face. I told myself I wouldn't use it. I told myself I just needed to hold it, to feel in control of something. But when I walked back to the bedroom and saw him lying there, smirking at me, scrolling through his phone as if I was already forgotten, something inside me snapped. I don't remember the first strike. I only remember his eyes widening in shock, then fear, then nothing at all. His blood was warm, sticky, painting my hands, my shirt, the sheets we had tangled in so many times before. The silence after his last breath was the loudest sound I had ever heard. I stood there shaking, staring at the body of the only man I had ever loved, the man I had also destroyed. My obsession had turned into my crime. My secret love had ended in a secret murder. I cleaned myself as best I could, washed my hands until they were raw, burned my clothes in a trash barrel behind my apartment. His house remained locked, his body hidden for a day before anyone found him. The news said it was a break-in gone wrong. No one ever suspected me. And here I am now, anonymous, telling you this story. Not because I want sympathy, not because I want forgiveness, but because secrets eat you alive, and I've been eaten enough. Maybe my words will serve as a warning. Love can heal, but obsession kills. If you followed me this far, if you felt the weight of my confession, do me a favor, hit the like button, share this story, and subscribe to the channel. Not for me, but so more people can hear how dangerous secrets can be. Because in the end, no matter how hidden you think you are, the truth always finds a way to bleed out.